Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Heidi and this is my HRT review update. I'm just going to put my chair in. So if you are new to my channel, I talk all things perimenopause, midlife, and a mature student at university studying psychology counselling. So I have had some blood tests because my HRT journey to this point has brought me to this point where I feel like my HRT is possibly not working. I'm on 100 micrograms, which is the highest recommended dose that my NHS doctor can prescribe. So the update is, and I have wrote some notes because I knew I would forget. So update. Dr. Khan wasn't Dr. Khan that I seen the first time. It was actually a male this time and not a female. And it was a telephone call to discuss my blood test results. I'd looked at my blood test results and had a look using ChatGPT to understand them before I spoke to the doctor, so I knew what I wanted to do next. And I had high cholesterol, not super high, and I knew that that was down to not doing as much exercise and the cakes, the sweets and the chocolates. So I knew why that was high and how I could bring that down. My absorption level for my estradiol was borderline what she told me would be acceptable. So I wanted to talk about that because the absorption wasn't super high. It was more on the lower end. It wasn't even in the middle, it was at the lower end. So I thought, okay, that could be an issue, and we discussed possibly trying a different method of estrogen. So instead of using patches, maybe gel, or there's a tablet. And also I'd asked about testosterone. And again, my testosterone levels I'd had done, and they again were at the lower end rather than, you know, in the middle or at the top. So the male doctor basically asked me what time of day I had my blood tests, because all of these factors have to be considered, which I understand. So I had my blood tests at 11:55 in the morning, around about, and he said, at what point that week would you have changed your patch? So I said it was a Wednesday and I changed my patch on a Thursday. So you could argue that maybe there was less to be absorbed in the patch that I had on. But he just asked me, he didn't really elaborate, asked me about my symptoms again. And basically the appointment ended with him saying that he wanted to discuss my results and what he'd discussed with me during the appointment with the gynecology team. Well, he asked me about my periods. There's nothing wrong with my periods. Progesterone is fine. And again, I know it's another team that's involved in female hormones, if you like, but I was annoyed, one, that it was a man, two, that he didn't want to discuss with me, just that let's try a gel, or what he wanted to speak to somebody else. So whereas the female doctor that I spoke to on my first appointment had done a hormone, a menopause course, she told me she'd done some kind of training or a course. So he wants to speak to the team, and now that word has just completely gone out of my mind, the Gynae team, about my results, and then proceeded to suggest talking therapy. Now, I'm not against talking therapy. I am a psychology counselling student. I will be getting a whole heap of counselling in the next few years, and I am a believer that talking, whether it's counselling, coaching, talking to somebody you trust, is always going to be beneficial. But I understand my body, and he asked me if I was suicidal, what sort of thoughts I have. Now, don't get me wrong, I know women do suffer really badly, and to be honest with you, at the beginning of my journey I was very low, but I did say to him, the low mood's creeping back, but with exercise and stuff, that's not my biggest concern. It's motivation, energy levels, body pain, this blooming sensitive throat thing. So that is the update. I'm not 100% happy. I would have rather have come away with, let's try this, and at the same time I will speak to the gynae team, because I feel like that's for his reassurance, not mine. But then you could argue it's perhaps better that he speaks to other professionals. But now it's another waiting game. So now I've got to wait until he does that. And then what happens? He didn't even say book another appointment or I'll call you back. So I don't even know what's happening there. I think I was just annoyed that the appointment didn't go the way that I wanted it to. And so I was like, okay, bye. And then he sent me links and he was like telling me about, you can ring crisis team, A&E, have a mental health support area and all this stuff. And again, I know he's trying to cover all bases. I do get that. But I thought, oh gosh, I haven't sounded on this call like my mental health was the thing that was struggling. I was just saying I feel like my symptoms are creeping back, and that's all of them, not just the emotional and mental ones. So yeah, a bit annoying. But that is an update. We are now 1, 2, 3 and a bit weeks into my first appointment, and I'm just continuing on my estradiol patches until I hear back. So that is my update. Don't know if that's helped anybody. I don't know if anybody's got any suggestions. I'm kind of concerned about what he's actually going to come back with. Like, what is the gynecology team going to suggest? Maybe it's the testosterone, because I did ask about that again and said I'd discuss maybe trying it, but we were waiting for my bloods. So maybe he's perhaps wanting to know what the best course of action is in terms of, do I change my estrogen? Can I try some testosterone? Yada, yada, yada. So, on a more positive, optimistic note, I've been feeling not too bad at all now. And I know the reason for that is because it's the school holidays. So I'm at university. We have similar holidays to schools, not exactly, we don't have as many, but we have the summer. And my job, I work 2 days of the week. So I know that I'm coping with day to day because I can have slow mornings. Obviously I have the normal stress that all parents, caregivers have in the summer holidays, with keeping them occupied, them spending all your money, them eating you out of house and home. I've just been to M&S to get her uniform, my youngest uniform. So apart from those normal stressors, I've been pretty chill. I've been decorating, I've been moving my body, I've been on the treadmill. I'm doing a 30 days to change my ways, which is, you will find as a playlist on my channel. And I'm actually on the last week of that, so I'm on week 4, day 23 will be tomorrow. So I'll start my last week tomorrow, which is Friday. Anyway, that is the update. I will be back again with what the gynecology team suggests, I guess, and I will share that with you guys. Okay, thank you for listening. Take care, bye.